Thanks for watching. Welcome to an overview of the key updates to the Town of Princeton's Draft 2042 Official Community Plan. Before we review the changes and revisions to the Draft OCP, we want to provide you with an overview of what an OCP is, why we updated it, why this process is important, and what steps we took that led us here. Please note, this is a high-level presentation of the review and update of the draft OCP. The full draft can be found on the town's website, princeton.ca/p/OCP, or you can pick up a hard copy at Town Hall. In 2021, the town began the review and update of its official community plan to revisit long-range planning goals and policies that support decisions on topics like housing, parks and recreation, the economy, social issues, and the environment. The updated version of the plan represents the community's vision for the next 20 years to 2042. The preparation of this plan has been a collaborative process involving town council, staff, community members, local stakeholders, First Peoples, and regional and provincial government. We are pleased to share and present the Draft 2042 OCP today to gather community input on the draft. This presentation provides a high-level overview of the draft OCP, including a review of what has changed or what has been added. To review the full draft OCP, you can find a digital version of the draft on the town's website, princeton.ca/p/OCP, or you can pick up a hard copy at Town Hall. After this presentation, or once you've read through the draft 2042 OCP, we ask that you take some time to complete a survey on the draft. You can complete the survey online at www.surveymonkey.com/r/Princeton Draft OCP. You can pick up a hard copy of the draft OCP, this presentation, and survey at Town Hall. We ask that you submit hard copy surveys by email to planning@princeton.ca, or you can drop them off at Town Hall. We'd like to acknowledge that the draft OCP is a community-driven plan resulting from 2 years of collaborative work. It could not have been achieved without the active participation and support of the community. A special thank you is extended to all community members who took the time to share their knowledge, thoughts, ideas, and concerns related to Princeton's future. So what is an official community plan, and why did we update it? Official community plans are used as a policy tool by municipal governments for land use planning. The OCP is the most important long-range planning document for the town. It guides future growth and land use by setting goals and policies that support decisions on topics like development, housing, parks and recreation, the economy, social issues, and the environment. The OCP guides other town strategies and plans. An OCP provides the framework for decision-making based on long-term objectives to allow for effective land use management within the town. All future bylaws enacted by the town must be consistent with the OCP. A comprehensive review of the OCP has not been completed since 2008. A lot has happened since then around housing, transportation, the environment, and more. Investment in our community over this time has included the expansion of the Copper Mountain Mine, the expansion of the industrial park, numerous larger-scale development projects, rapid growth, and increased interest in the town. As Princeton has and continues to grow, the town reviewed its OCP to ensure it reflects current values and priorities and prepares for challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. We may not see immediate impacts from this update. Over time, the OCP will guide decisions related to transportation, housing, land use, economic development, and other topics. For example, the OCP establishes goals and directions that help us build a more resilient community in the face of climate pressures and insecurity through directions and actions like wildfire protection policies and flood hazard policies that protect our community against future disasters, by establishing stronger development guidelines and supporting mitigation strategies. It also includes policies that help encourage more housing types to diversify and increase our housing stock, leading to affordability. The OCP also outlines how our town will foster community partnerships, support culture and heritage, and provide services for those in need. The OCP is an important document that provides key directions on growth management, the environment, climate action, and emergency response. This has been a 2-year process, and the project has occurred over 3 phases with community engagement intertwined. We are currently at Engagement 2, reviewing the updates to the draft OCP and gathering input through a community survey. Phase 1 engagement took place in the spring of 2022. Due to public health restrictions brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, all engagement opportunities during this phase were virtual, with take-home, hard copy options for those without access to technology. Key topics under discussion during the first round of engagement included the community vision, guiding principles, community issues, and community opportunities. Engagement opportunities in this phase included a community survey, a stakeholder workshop, 2 community workshops, take-home activity and comment forum, a staff workshop, and a design contest. The input we heard from the community allowed us to create the draft you see today. Input gathered from surveys, workshops, and take-home activities from over 300 participants suggested that the OCP vision is still relevant and identified areas for goals and policy additions or enhancements, as well as new development permit areas for multifamily housing and wildfire protection areas. It revealed the strengths and challenges our community faces and the priority and directions of our community. A full report of engagement results can be found on the project website, princeton.ca/p/OCP. The draft 2042 OCP is now ready for stakeholders and the community to review. This second phase of public engagement is open from October 9th to October 30th. The draft 2042 OCP was presented to Council on October 4th. After receiving community input, revisions to the draft OCP will be made based on feedback received from Council, stakeholders, and the community at large. So where can you find the draft 2042 OCP, and how is it different from the 2008 OCP? You can find a digital version of the draft 2042 OCP online on the town's website, princeton.ca/p/OCP. Hard copies are also available at Town Hall, 151 Vermilion Ave, Princeton, BC. Once the OCP is adopted, the final OCP will still remain on the town website and be available by hard copy. The OCP is an important document for the public. You can use the OCP to gain a better understanding of local issues and how they plan to be addressed or what changes may happen in your neighborhood. The plan has been designed so it can be read as a whole document or by each individual guiding principle section. We encourage you to have the draft 2042 OCP open as we go through this presentation. The OCP is divided into 7 parts. Part 1, Planning Process, provides the purpose of the plan, explains how the plan was developed, and outlines what the plan contains. Part 2, Community Context, includes a community profile on Princeton and discusses the town's plan for managing new and/or proposed growth. Part 3, Community Vision and Guiding Principles, provides the overarching vision of the community and the principles that will help us to achieve this vision. Part 4, Goals and Policies, includes specific goals and policies of each guiding principle. These actions help create a roadmap describing how our community will grow towards our vision of a healthy community. Part 5, Development Permit Areas, includes the DPAs of specific areas within the town where more detailed information on form and character is required to guide new development. Part 6, OCP Administration, Monitoring, and Evaluation, discusses how the plan is to be used and its alignment with other policies, plans, and bylaws. It also includes how the plan will be used and amended until the next review. Part 7, Implementation, describes how the actions within the plan will be carried out. So what does the draft OCP include, and what changes were made? To provide a quick snapshot of the changes and updates, we wanted to review what has stayed the same. We have continued to uplift protecting and preserving small town character. We heard that small town character is a priority for residents in terms of Princeton's future direction. This can be reflected in the consistency in our 2008 and 2042 vision and guiding principles, and the policies created to enhance themes like family-oriented community, closeness to nature, knowing your neighbors, and a sense of security and safety. We continued our focus on recreation as we heard that Princeton's identity is rooted in our outdoor recreation opportunities. This can be reflected in the consistency in our vision, guiding principles, and themes. Overall, our policy approach to land use has stayed consistent between the 2008 and 2042 OCP. We did not hear any major concerns about current land use planning. Instead, we heard that the plan was hard to read, that there is a want for growth management, specifically around housing and accessibility needs, that there is a need to support and maintain our infrastructure, that wildfire and natural disaster protection is a key one, and that there is a desire for better connectivity throughout the community. Overall, no major changes were made in our policies. And to provide a quick snapshot of what's new, as you can see, we've given the OCP a bit of a facelift. We've made the OCP more user-friendly by adding in photos, visuals, and did you know sections. Not only did we improve the aesthetic design of the OCP, we wanted to make it more user-friendly. We enhanced, branded, and reordered and reorganized content and policies for readability. We also removed policies that were completed, outdated, or repeats of actions found in other sections. We updated and expanded the community profile to include more in-depth context on the town, current statistics, and First Peoples history. We also added a new growth management section to better support and plan for Princeton's accelerated growth. We've added policies that support the consideration and development of density bonusing programs to help support growth, more affordable housing, economic development, and new parks and recreation. Density bonuses offer new developments a level of density that surpasses the allowable floor area ratio in exchange for amenities or housing needed by the community. These amenities can include things like parks, bike lanes, and affordable housing. Density bonuses must be established in zoning bylaws. Including these supporting policies in our OCP provides direction for when the town updates our zoning bylaw and lays out pre-established community interests. We've also added vacation rental policies based on community input to support rental housing and tourism needs. In alignment with DCC bylaw, included definitions of housing density categories. We've also updated vision statements and guiding principles for readability and to enhance our small town, recreation-focused identity. We've updated policies to encourage and support affordable housing to meet growing housing demands and needs in our community. We've added accessory dwelling unit policies based on community input to help diversify housing types and grow our housing stock. We've added policies related to food security, And we've expanded or added new development permit areas to better protect the environment and our community and help guide the form and character of specific neighborhoods. Development permit areas are areas where special requirements and guidelines for any development or alteration of the land are in effect. These guidelines may be created to protect the environment or protect development in hazardous areas. They also help guide the form and character of areas based on community input and best practice. If you are developing a new property or rebuilding a structure and your property is located in one or more of the town's DPAs, you may need a development permit prior to proposed work. We will get into all the major changes more in depth in the rest of this presentation. Princeton has seen a relatively steady population growth rate of approximately 3.8% over the past 10 years, and an annual growth rate of approximately 0.72% to 0.76%. Based on current projections, the population of the town of Princeton is anticipated to be 3,955 by 2042, with a higher but moderate annual growth rate of 1.5%. This means an additional 1,061 people will be living in the town by 2042. In Part 2 of the plan, on pages 18 to 26, you can find a brand new section on growth management. This section outlines Princeton's plan for sustainable and managed growth to 2042 based on population projections and residential, industrial, commercial, and institutional development needs that come with such growth. Focusing on growth management can help meet the needs of our community now and in the future. It helps us prioritize and plan for the future demands, wants, and needs of a growing population. Within this section on growth management, you can find new land use designations on pages 20 to 22. These categories were developed with growth in mind. They both inform and respond to policies and directions set out in the upcoming section, Part 4, Goals and Policies, Managing Land Use Principle, Residential Designation Policies. The land use designations help to simplify the development planning process. Each land use designation includes a range of uses, densities, and forms to guide decision-making for development in a particular neighborhood or property. We have created 3 categories for land uses: rural, suburban, and urban. The rural designation is intended to support low-density residential uses on large properties with rural character that may or may not be serviced with a community water system and community sewer. Accessory dwelling units will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis based on infrastructure and servicing capacity. Residential uses within this designation allow for single-family houses and accessory dwelling units. Housing types include large single-family houses and accessory dwelling units. The suburban designation is intended to support low to medium density residential uses that are serviced with the community water system and community sewer as evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Residential uses within this designation allow for a variety of multifamily housing forms like duplexes, triplexes, townhouses, or row houses that are pedestrian and ground-oriented to keep within a suburban neighborhood character form. Housing types include single-family houses, two-family houses, manufactured mobile homes, accessory dwelling units, duplexes, triplexes, row houses, or townhouses. The urban designation is intended to largely support medium and high-density residential uses that are serviced with the community water system and community sewer. Residential uses within this designation allow for a variety of multifamily housing forms, including apartments and/or developments that are pedestrian and ground-oriented to strengthen and support mixed-use, compact development in the town center and highway commercial areas. Within this designation, residential uses may exist in mixed-use developments that may have residential units on the upper floors with office, retail, and other commercial spaces on the bottom floor to encourage connectivity between housing and daily amenities. Accessory dwelling units will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis based on infrastructure and servicing capacity. Residential uses within this designation allow for single-family houses and accessory dwelling units. Housing types may include duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, townhouse, apartments, and accessory dwelling units. All of this information can be found on page 22 of the updated draft OCP. To further guide and manage all types of growth, we have identified future development areas and what type of growth our community wants to see across different sectors of the community: Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, Southwest, and Town Center. These are possibilities, and they have not been annexed yet, but have been discussed and could support future development of the town. Going forward, these future development areas may be incorporated into the town's boundaries and may be considered for development within the term of this OCP. These areas will require OCP amendment prior to designating specific land uses. Incorporation of these areas and subsequent development will need to align with the goals and policies of this OCP. Princeton's 20-year growth scenario, found on page 25, provides guidance for decision-making around future land use and development to ensure the needs of the population are met and the community continues to grow in a sustainable way. The scenario integrates themes compiled through detailed community input relative to the distribution of growth and growth type along with technical input. It focuses on a more equal distribution of population growth, concentrated commercial development in and around the town center, prioritization of industrial development within the business park, infill in key development nodes in and around the town center, a balance of infill and greenfield bare land development, and general encouragement of densification and redevelopment where appropriate. Our growth management plan and all that's been discussed can be visualized in the updated Future Growth Management Map, found on draft OCP page 25. Part 3, Community Vision and Guiding Principles, can be found on draft OCP page 27. So what does it include and what changes were made? As previously discussed, the draft vision has remained relatively the same. The draft vision defines what our community is working towards. Princeton's vision emerged out of discussions and workshop sessions with council and the community throughout the preparation of the 2008 plan and was revisited and updated at a council strategic planning session in 2021. Through community engagement for this OCP review and update, we confirmed the vision and made some slight updates based on what we heard to enhance readability. Here you can see the 2008 vision compared side by side to the 2042 vision. The updated version can be found on page 29 of the draft plan. As you can see, the overall vision for Princeton's OCP has stayed the same, orange highlighting things that have stayed the same and blue as new additions. From community input, the vision has been updated to include a stronger focus on outdoor recreation and economic diversification, and to include Indigenous culture and heritage. We have also reorganized the vision from large paragraphs into bullet points for enhanced readability and use. Our guiding principles outline our community values and provide direction as to how we will realize our vision. They serve as reference points for future land use and policy decisions and implementation. Based on community engagement, we heard that the guiding principles developed in the 2008 OCP planning process were still relevant and reflect current directions. No major changes were made. Each principle was provided an icon to enhance readability of the document and given an action word to easily explain how each principle is and will be implemented. For example, small town character became preserving small town character. As you can see, not many changes were made. Blue represents the updated guiding principles found in the draft 2042 OCP, while orange text represents the past principles found in the 2008 OCP. One major change to note is engaging and protecting the community has now become just protecting our community. Engagement policies have been taken out and placed instead in fostering strong community partnerships. Further, visual quality and aesthetics has now become encouraging nature and heritage-inspired design to better align with community wants on preserving a small mountain town identity. Moving on to part 4, goals and policies. So what's included and how to read this section? Starting on page 32, this section covers the overarching goals and specific policies of the OCP. This section includes 7 subsections for each guiding principle. Within each subsection, specific goals and policies that relate to the guiding principle are identified. This is an important part of the OCP, as these goals and policies will guide decision-making for the town. While some changes have been made based on readability, community input, technical analysis, changes in government legislation, and best practices in land use planning, the general approach to land use, development, and planning has remained the same. Here you can see an image of what a section looks like. First, you will see the icon and guiding principle covered in the subsection. This is followed by a restating of the guiding principle's supplementary text. Following this is the overarching goals of the section. These high-level goals guide policy direction and align with the overarching guiding principle. After the overarching goals, you will find the policies. These specific policies are aligned with the overarching section goals and guiding principles. Within each subsection, overarching goals have been added. These were developed based on community input to help identify higher level targets the subsequent policies follow. Additionally, some of these goals were embedded in the old OCP but were not identified as goals. These were then extracted and rewritten or restated as goals. There have been no significant changes to the policies within each subsection. However, policies that have been completed or are no longer relevant have been removed. New policies have been added that are based on community and/or technical input, and some policies have been adjusted for clarity. To enhance readability, the policies within each section include categories. This picture shows an example of subcategories for building and maintaining sustainable infrastructure policies. So what changes have been made to the guiding principle managing land use? This section starts on page 33 of the draft OCP. To account for current and projected growth, a high-density residential HR policy section has been added. These policies encourage increased density to areas that make sense to do so and have been identified by community and staff. These include areas within the town center, within a 10-minute walk of the town center, and within the highway commercial designation. These can be outlined in Schedule B, found on page 95. We have also adjusted definitions within residential designation policies. These are to low, medium, and high density. These have been applied based on the DCC bylaw approved by Council and to help support and better manage growth. Special needs and affordable housing policies have been expanded to meet the growing demands of our community. These updates and revisions help support the diversification of housing types, encourage new development, and ensure new housing helps meet the unique needs of Princeton's residents, specifically seniors. One example to highlight is the expansion of Special Needs and Affordable Housing Policy B. You can see what has been added to this policy by the bold text. We've gone from encourage a diversified range of housing types and ownership for people with varied needs and income levels to encourage a diversified range of housing types and ownership for people with varying needs, abilities, and income levels, including but not limited to secondary and carriage suites. This addition helps us to ensure our housing stock is diversified and grows, but also takes into account a wider range of individual needs. To further touch on housing inclusivity and access, Special Needs and Affording Housing Policy D has been added. Incorporate universal design principles in planning affordable and special needs housing to ensure housing is accessible to seniors and people with wide-ranging abilities and income levels. This addition helps us to ensure we are building inclusive housing that meets the unique needs of our residents, including our seniors and those who may have greater accessibility challenges and needs. We heard that housing is a major challenge for our community. To better address the growing housing demands of our community, we have updated our housing policies to support new development, to increase our supply and diversify our housing stock. Accessory dwelling unit policies is an addition to the OCP that helps us meet our housing needs. One example to highlight is Accessory Dwelling Unit Policy A. Encourage the development of accessory dwelling units, including secondary suites and carriage houses, within all residential zones to increase rental housing choices and provide affordable house options. To encourage housing in our town center and build complete, walkable neighborhoods, we've added mixed-use designation policies. These additions also help us strengthen our small town identity by focusing growth and new development within the established town center. This helps encourage new economic investment and promotes more efficient uses of land and infrastructure. We've also added general commercial policies to support more opportunities for mixed-use development, to ensure commercial development is integrated into existing neighborhoods based on best practices, to help create walkable, compact neighborhoods, and to better support and manage new commercial growth within our pre-established neighborhoods. To strengthen recreation opportunities in our community, new parks and recreation policies have been added. These were added based on community input to focus more on outdoor spaces and recreation. These include supporting the development of smaller pocket parks and green spaces within the town center, and adhering to additional relative policies under healthy and active living section of this OCP. Within the building and maintaining sustainable infrastructure subsection, policies have been modified where necessary to help clarify their intent and how they will be implemented. Road network policies have been updated based on community concerns and staff input to help support future transportation network planning as the town grows, encourage connectivity and a complete streets approach to improve safety and neighborhood design, and identify partnerships between the town and Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure to enhance regional mobility and safety. Transit network, active transportation network, and trails and greenway policies have been added to this section. In the 2008 OCP, some of these policies existed in other sections. They have been moved under Building and Maintaining Sustainable Infrastructure Policy for clarity and ease of locating. Active Transportation Network Policies C to J, found on page 46 to 47, have been added based on the active transportation assessment that was completed prior to the OCP review, as well as from community input from surveys and workshops focusing on trails and outdoor recreation. These policies that have been added help support the development of necessary infrastructure and connections needed to encourage active transportation in our community. In the Supporting a Flourishing Economy section, which starts on page 48, tourism policies have been updated and added too. These new and revised tourism policies are found on page 49 and better reflect the wants of our community. Tourism commercial was identified as the second most important need for Princeton in the next 20 years. One example to highlight is Tourism Policy I, establish zoning and business licensing regulations related to short-term vacation rentals, for example, Airbnbs and Vrbo, in all residential zones with a focus on health, safety, and the provision of adequate off-street parking. Adjust regulations over time if the number of rentals begins to jeopardize long-term affordable renting housing stock. This policy arose directly from the input found in the OCP survey that identified the want for more regulations related to short-term vacation residentials to address housing affordability and housing supply challenges. We have updated our investment policies to help encourage economic diversification and economic growth that is based on current visioning and public input. For example, Investment Policy A, develop an asset management strategy to guide the planning, construction, maintenance, and operation of municipal infrastructure services to ensure that the town is positioned to take advantages of opportunities for economic growth and development, helps build the internal and external support that is necessary to manage current and future levels of growth. The Fostering Strong Community Partnership section has been updated to include specific policies and speaks to relationships with neighboring First Peoples. The town of Princeton has an MOU with the Upper Similkameen Indian Band and the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen. The town of Princeton has an MOU with the Vermilion Forks Métis Association and the town of Princeton. The MOUs are essential to strengthening relationships between the town and First Peoples and identify within them partnership directions for the future. To ensure that the necessary work to strengthen the relationship between Princeton and Princeton's Indigenous neighbors occurs, a section on Indigenous partnership policies has been created. These policies also help ensure consistency between the town's MOUs and the OCP. Further, some policies that were previously found within the partnership section of the 2008 OCP have been moved to other categories that were more relevant and a better fit. For example, promoting healthy and active living, General Policy F, partner with outdoor recreational organizations to develop additional facilities for snowmobiling and all-terrain vehicles, ATVs, was moved from the partnership section to promoting healthy and active living. New Indigenous culture and heritage policies have been added to celebrating our culture and heritage to better reflect the history of Princeton, the Similkameen people, and the Similkameen culture. Protecting Our Community was originally titled Engaging in Protecting the Community. To better focus solely on community safety, community engagement policies were shifted to the Fostering Strong Community Partnership section. Within Protecting Our Community, wildfire protection policies have been updated and added to better reflect the necessary measures that are now needed to protect our community against wildfire disasters. Flood hazard protection policies have been updated based on the 2021 Similkameen River Flood Mitigation Planning Report commissioned by the town of Princeton. Within the subsection of Promoting Healthy and Active Living, General Policies is a new addition that focuses on healthy living, poverty reduction, accessibility, outdoor recreation, and active transportation. Some of these are brand new policies that were created based on community input on recreation, accessibility, and healthy living wants. However, others existed elsewhere in the plan and were reorganized here as they were seen as a better fit. For example, Promoting Healthy and Active Living, General Policy C, create an accessible environment where people of all ages using a variety of transportation modes, including walking, cycling, motorized scooters, wheelchairs, can move with ease, was moved from the previous category of community connections to Promoting Healthy and Active Living under the new General Policy section. Food system policies, found on page 59 of the draft OCP, is a new section found within Promoting Healthy and Active Living that was created based on community engagement results that support building a local food system and strengthening Princeton's food security. These two new policies include Food Systems Policy A, support local agriculture and food system initiatives where appropriate in public spaces, multifamily development, commercial spaces, and parks that increase the availability and accessibility of good quality, nutritious food for all community members, as well as Food Systems Policy B, support community food initiatives such as farmers markets, community gardens, gleaning programs, community kitchens, and others in partnership with local and regional partners. To better meet our vision of a small mountain town identity, and support year-round recreation opportunities. Recreation policies found within promoting healthy and active living have been revised and added to based on community direction to expand recreation opportunities year-round. Recreation Policy G is a new addition. Support development of year-round recreational opportunities, indoor and outdoor, that cater to the needs of residents and visitors, i.e., arenas, pools, indoor tennis, and pickleball courts. Again, to enhance recreation, specifically year-round recreation for all ages, the Great Doors Policy D was added. Work towards establishing Princeton as year-round outdoor destination, capitalizing on our access to the outdoors and outdoor recreational opportunities to continue to attract tourists and visitors to our community and region. Within the Prioritizing Environmental Responsibility and Stewardship subsection found on Draft OCP, page 61, policies associated with climate change have been updated. These have also been condensed into one section for clarity and ease of readability. Background information on greenhouse gases was also removed. While this information is helpful and insightful, it's not directly relevant to the OCP and is better noted in our targeted climate action plan or strategy. We heard that small town character is a priority for residents. Within the community survey, 41.4% of respondents rated maintaining small town character as very important, and 21.9% rated it as important. To better capture and meet that want for a small town identity, sense of place policies have been updated and clarified. One example to highlight is sense of place policy B. In the 2008 OCP, as seen on the left-hand side within the brown-orange font, you can read what the original sense of place policies say. On the right, you can find the updated version in blue. This is found on page 64 of the draft OCP. As you can see, things have been clarified to better show how we will implement and achieve a small town identity through character, form, and design. Again, to capture our community's want for a small town identity and to be a place known for its recreation all year round, new sense of place policies have been created. One example is sense of place policy E, work towards establishing Princeton as year-round outdoor destination, capitalizing on our access to the outdoors and outdoor recreational opportunities to continue to attract tourists and visitors to our community and region. Note, this policy was also added to promoting healthy and active living section as it is applicable in both places, and this was a major goal identified from community input. Within preserving small town character, linkages policies has been renamed public amenities policies. Relevant previous policies are now under public amenity policies. This renaming helps to clarify the support of new and or improved civic infrastructure and amenities. This was a strong community desire in public engagement sessions. Encouraging nature and heritage-inspired design subsection, found on draft OCP page 66, was originally entitled Visual Quality and Aesthetics. It was updated based on community desire to establish a cohesive look and feel for Princeton, on one that is based on natural landscapes, history, and a Western feel. To ensure we achieve this look and this feel, policies have been added to and updated in this section. For example, Policy E includes urban design guidelines that support a more natural feel to new developments. Create a guide on plants that grow well in Princeton's climate to encourage the use of drought-tolerant native plant species and low water consumption xeriscape species in landscaping planning. Part 5, Development Permit Areas, is found on Draft OCP, page 68. This section starts with the background, providing information on what DPAs are and why they are included in an OCP. Princeton has 6 DPAs, 3 of which are new based on community and technical input. Further, this table has been added to help make this section more user-friendly to the public to allow the reader to easily identify the sections in the Local Government Act each development applies to. While updates have been made to the Town Center, Highway Corridor, and Environmentally Sensitive Area DPAs, 3 new DPAs have been created. This includes DPA number 3, Business Park, DPA number 4, Multifamily Residential, and DPA number 6, Wildfire Protection Area. Please note that FireSmart guidelines have been updated into all DPAs and lighting upgrades have been added in all DPAs where applicable. DPA number 2, Highway Corridor, includes updated guidelines for site planning. These updates support the development of pedestrian and active transportation infrastructure, as this was identified as a want from our community. These new guidelines state that new development should be sensitively integrated into the existing neighborhood in terms of building orientation, scaling and style, site layout, and overall building and site design. That alternative modes of transportation should be considered in site planning to ensure a safe path for pedestrians and cyclists, and consider developing new trail and active transportation connections. That pedestrian and cyclist-friendly amenities should be incorporated into design. This includes integrating CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design principles, in building and site design, promoting safety, natural surveillance, accessibility, visibility, and access to emergency services. And site design should consider Princeton's identity as an outdoor destination, preserving natural site features where possible. DPA number 3, Business Park Development Area, is a new DPA that establishes objectives and guidelines for the form and character of industrial development located within the business park. These guidelines focus on safety, crime prevention, and integration with adjacent land uses. This DPA is derived from community and technical input to develop guidelines that are not overly cumbersome but help to achieve consistency in urban design, specifically between neighboring competing uses. These new guidelines will streamline and enhance urban design in our business park area. For example, such guidelines include buildings are encouraged to be surfaced with natural buildings materials so long as FireSmart guidelines can be upheld. The use of steel and concrete are permitted, but large unarticulated walls of concrete block, corrugated steel, vinyl siding, and similar materials are discouraged. This helps us to meet our small town and nature-inspired design. Further, the use of variety of colors that are predominant in the natural environment, such as earth tones colors, is encouraged. Again, helping us meet that nature-inspired design. Through community engagement, we heard that people wanted more regulation around multifamily housing, particularly to ensure affordable multifamily housing is treated with the same level of care and attention as other developments, while at the same time not being too cumbersome on those developing the unit. To account for this, and to support new growth that encourages different types of housing, this DPA number 4, Multifamily Residential, was developed. This DPA creates a standard for multifamily design, and these standards are based on nature and heritage-inspired design to enhance Princeton's small town character. This DPA applies to any development within the town boundaries with 3 or more units of multifamily residentials proposed, such as townhouses, row houses, triplexes, and apartments. DPA number 5, Environmentally Sensitive Areas, was updated in accordance with provincial riparian area regulations. DPA number 6, Wildfire Protection Area, is a completely new DPA that was developed based on community input. The guidelines within this DPA were developed based on best practices to minimize risk of damage due to wildfires to people, buildings, and properties in and around the town of Princeton, as well as to reduce the risk of natural disasters such as landslides, debris flows, and erosion post-wildfires. Based on current realities and rising insecurities around wildfires, this new DPA applies to all properties within town boundaries. Every new development will now require a site layout plan that identifies areas at risk of wildfire-urban interface, a site layout plan that identifies existing and proposed buildings and/or structure that are development-free to mitigate future wildfire interface risk, and an existing landscape plan that identifies native vegetation, wetlands and watercourses, topography, and areas slated for tree or native vegetation removal or alteration, and a proposed landscape plan that identifies the type and location of new plant material, amenity areas, and features and proposed irrigation system. As for DPA guidelines, all building materials will adhere to BC FireSmart guidelines. A covenant will now be required on title for new development to ensure property owners maintain their properties in accordance with regulations outlined, specifically vegetation management. For new subdivisions, appropriate emergency and evacuation access will need to be provided. Part 6, OCP Administration, Monitoring and Evaluation, is found on Draft OCP, page 89. This is a brand new section that outlines how the OCP will be used and how it aligns with other town policies, plans, and bylaws. This section also covers temporary use permits. The entire town is designated for the issuance of a TUP. These allow specific land uses for a set period of time when the existing zoning does not permit those specified uses. This section also includes how the plan will be used and amended until the next review. To ensure our OCP does not collect dust, a new implementation plan has been created. Found on draft page 92, this implementation plan has been created to determine whether the OCP is meeting the needs of the community and to monitor the progress of identified action items. This is accomplished through the implementation tables found on Schedule M, page 106. It is important to note that the implementation tables do not include all supporting policies in the OCP, but just ones with specific targets and deliverables. This section identifies all of the tangible actions and future projects identified in the OCP. The tables identify the action where it is found within the OCP, the departments that will lead the implementation, funding that may be accessed to support the action, and the action's priority ranking. The rankings of each action is based on community direction, capacity, and need. Actions are ranked as high priority, where the action is projected to occur within 0 to 3 years, medium priority, where the action is projected to occur within 3 to 5 years, low priority, where the action is projected to occur within 5 to 10 years, or ongoing priority, where projected actions do not have a completion date but are day-to-day ongoing priorities. Here is an example of an implementation table for building and maintaining sustainable infrastructure, which is found in Schedule M, starting on page 106 of the draft OCP. As you can see, the title shares what guiding principle the action falls under. The number on the far left side shows what action this is. Then, where the action can be found in the plan. Then, what the action item is. Then, who is the department responsible for leading the action plan? Then, the potential funding sources to support the action, and then the ranking of action. This ranking helps provide timelines and need. The OCP includes several maps and tables that provide geospatial and visual references for policies and directions. These include Schedule B, Land Use Map, Schedule C, Growth Management Map. Schedule D, Existing Water Infrastructure Map. Schedule E, Existing Sanitary Sewer Infrastructure Map. Schedule F, Transportation Network Map. Schedule G, Active Transportation and Parks Map. Schedule H, Environmental Features Map. Schedule I, Floodplain Map. Schedule J, Steep Slopes Map. Schedule K, Development Permit Areas Map. Schedule L, ALR Map. And Schedule M, Implementation Tables. The OCP itself is Schedule A. There have been some updates to the OCP land use map. The land use map has recategorized development types based on definitions of rural, suburban, and urban. Within the urban section, high-density residential has been added to encourage new housing types and manage future growth. Potential future town boundary expansions have been identified. Previous inaccuracies and inefficiencies between zoning bylaw and OCP have been addressed and updated on this map. You'll also see the Copper Mountain Mine map inset. The Growth Management Map is a newly created map that identifies where population growth will be targeted based on what we've heard from the community. Although these areas have not been annexed into the town boundary, they help identify and show town staff and officials where future growth may occur. This helps make better decisions and gives developers direction on where growth is prioritized. In the 2008 OCP, all utilities were identified on one map. Each utility has been separated out and identified on its own map in the new OCP. Utility maps were also updated based on the DCC bylaw and infrastructure improvements that have been made since 2008. The Active Transportation and Parks map is a newly created map that has been based on community input. It was developed from staff and community engagement and direction from the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Within the Environmental Features map, the Agricultural Land Reserve layer was taken off the Environmental Features map. The ALR map is now a standalone map. The Environmental Features map now just identifies riparian areas within town boundaries. The official Community Plan Floodplain Map is a newly created map based on mapping completed for the 2021 Similkameen River Flood Mitigation Planning Report that was commissioned by the town. This map helps identify key areas of concern for flooding. The Steep Slopes Map is a newly created map that was based on technical input to help guide future development away from areas containing steep slopes. The Development Permit Areas map has been updated based on the changes that have been made to existing DPAs and includes the addition of DPA number 3. This map only shows DPA number 1, 2, 3, and 5. DPA number 4 is not shown as it pertains to all multifamily developments that are over 2 units town-wide. DPA number 6 is not shown either as it pertains to all properties within municipal boundaries. We want to thank you for taking the time to review the updates and revisions to the draft 2042 OCP with us. Now that you have had a chance to review the draft and the changes that have been made, we want your input. We ask that you take some time to complete our community survey. You can access the survey online on the website www.surveymonkey.com/r/Princeton Draft OCP. You can also pick up and complete a hard copy of the survey at Town Hall. Hard copy surveys can be emailed to planning@princeton.ca or dropped off at Town Hall. The survey will close on October 30th. Be sure to complete the survey and include your contact information to be eligible to win a gift card to a local business. What's next on our roadmap to adoption? Once we have heard from the community, we will move into Phase 3. Revisions to the draft 2042 OCP will be made based on community, council, and stakeholder feedback. The final 2042 OCP will be presented to council and the adoption process will begin. A public hearing will be held as part of the council approval for any final comments from the public related to the updated OCP prior to adoption. Once the OCP is adopted, implementation of the OCP will begin and other projects will start. While we have already begun the development of age-friendly assessment and action plan, we also plan on reviewing and updating the town zoning bylaw to bring it in alignment with the new OCP. We want to again thank you for taking the time to review the 2042 draft OCP with us. We ask that you fill out our OCP survey at www.surveymonkey.com/r/Princeton draft OCP. You can also find a hard copy of the survey to complete at Town Hall. Remember, there is a prize draw available for participants, and your input matters. Thank you.